The film opens in a lab in Seoul, where we see a scared specialist named Young. Incidentally, his girl kicked the bucket as of late, so he's leading examinations on her to resurrect her. He's encircled by reptiles and crocodiles, which proposes that they're additionally being utilized as guinea pigs at that point. A few officials show up and tell him that many individuals have as of now kicked the bucket as a after effect of his trial. Dr. Youthful cases. He's very nearly a leap forward and infuses himself with something. Seeing this, the officials take shots at him and guarantee they will remove his little girl. Out of nowhere, a monstrous quake strikes, which winds up wrecking the whole country. The scene then, at that point, movements to 3 years afterward, and we see that the spot has transformed into an open, no man's land with all present-day civilization gone. To make matters more regrettable, some of Dr. Youthful's test gators, which have been infused with a unique serum, are let out in the open to develop. What's more, reproduce. Minutes after the fact, we see a kid named Jiwon who shows up with bolts and hits a croc in the eye. The croc professes to be dead, and when Gon draws nearer, it severely goes after him. So he withdraws inside a vehicle to secure himself. However, the croc seeks after him. Furthermore, nearly kills him. Luckily, a man named Nam Child shows up right now and quickly cuts the croc in 2 pieces with his R-edge. The team then packs the crocodile, asserting it will be extremely delectable. In the following scene, we see a young lady named Suna who lives in a little hovel with her grandmother. Their living conditions are hopeless, and they don't indeed even have new water to drink. Her grandmother's concerned on the grounds that there hasn't been any downpour in a half year, and marvels how they'll get by anyway. Suna tells her not to stress, and commitments they will find a way. A short time later, Jiwon and Nam soon show up at a market where they cut up the crocodile and trade its pieces for a few valuable things. Minutes after the fact, Suna additionally shows up with her grandmother, and we discover that Jiwon has a keen interest in her. She gives Namsoon a sketch she made of him and says thanks to him for saving her during the seismic tremor. Seeing this, he gets extremely blissful and gives her a major piece of meat. All of a sudden, a few hooligans show up and start threatening individuals they guarantee to be police and show a sketch of the individual they're searching for. They take anything they need, and when a man mediates, they rapidly hack his hand. Minutes after the fact, one of them sees Suna also chooses to take her with them. Seeing this, Ji-won goes to battle with them. However, they end up fiercely beating him, so Nam soon steps in and he beats every one of them till they can scarcely stand. He then takes note the spotless water bottles with them and asks where they got them. A hooligan tells him about a condo with clean water, yet claims that a couple of divinely selected individuals are allowed to enter that office. He inquires as to for what reason they're there, and the hooligan claims they were shipped off get supplies by their supervisor Tiger. After the hooligans leave, the team likewise gathers their assets. Also, leaves as far as possible. Jiwon proposes they search for that loft so they can have clean water. However, Namsoon excuses his thought not long after they show up outside Suna's home, where they notice a gathering of new individuals. So they approach Suna and ask to inquire as to whether these individuals are. It is driven by A to irritate her. The gathering lady, who presents herself as a instructor and cases, haven't arrived to hurt anybody. She says that they're from a local area that has been living in an high-rise found some distance away from this spot. She asserts that this spot has different extravagances, counting a copious inventory of clean drinking water. She specifies that they're looking for additional individuals to return to their condo, and that youngsters under the age of 20 and their folks are the only ones acknowledge Suna inquires as to whether Namsun and Guan can go with them as they're like family to her anyway. The instructor denies them, asserting that main close family individuals are acknowledged. Hearing this, Namsun encourages Suna to leave since, supposing that she remains more outlaws could return and attempt to hurt her. Following this, Suna and her grandmother bid their goodbye to the folks. They then leave with their instructors gathering, and they need to cover an extremely lengthy distance on the way. Before long, notification that the officers with them appear to be odd, and they have curious rankles on their necks. In a little while her grandmother becomes extremely burnt out on strolling, so the educator recommends they have a close-by clinical office where they can take her for rest. Suna hesitantly concurs, and the officers escort her grandma and another elderly person away from the gathering. Anyway, not long after the gathering comes across a vehicle, and Suna considers it odd that vehicles were sitting tight for them just a brief distance away. She asks why the educator sent her grandma away when they had a vehicle accessible. Hearing this, a person named Sergeant Quan says that they can pause for her grandmother, assuming she needs anyway. The others are turning out to be progressively parched and anxious, so they choose to keep pushing ahead. In the accompanying scene, the two troopers take the old individuals to a far-off area and promptly assault them. At that point, Jaiwan shows up and witnesses them killing Suna's grandmother, so he assaults these officers right away, and Nam Child additionally shows up to help him anyway. As they battle, they understand that these warriors are almost everlasting, as they don't bite the dust. Indeed, even in the wake of getting the most serious hits, Jaiwan attaches a trooper with a rope. Furthermore, questions why he killed his grandmother. Be that as it may, the fighter cuts his own leg and liberates himself from the rope. He then, at that point, starts going after Guan. Yet a lady named Yan Ho shows up out of the blue and cuts off the two fighters' heads. After they cover the grandmother, Yan Ho illuminates them that these folks must be killed by executing their heads. In any case, they can't bite the dust. She lets them know that she utilized to being unique powers, and that later the seismic tremor her group saw as an condo, that was the one spot that wasn't squashed. There was enough unadulterated water to drink, so they settled there. One day a man named Dr. Youthful showed up and begun living with them. However, since his appearance, numerous youngsters started missing one by one, so she before long went up against him and found out about his messy mysteries. He was dealing with an investigation that would give individuals interminability. He saw himself as a savior, trying to reclaim humankind. In this way, he involved those youngsters for his risky investigations. Clearly, their pituitary organs contained something basic to his exploration. When she discovered that even her manager, Sergeant Quan, was with the specialist, she became enraged. She attempted to stop them, yet they endeavored to kill her, so she had no decision yet to take off. In this manner, she now asks Namsan for his assistance in bringing the specialist down and saving her previous associates who were caught inside. Hearing this, he consents to help her battle against the specialist, however, simply because he needs to protect Suna. A short time later, the three head to meet the neighborhood criminal, Tiger, who has associations with individuals living in the loft. It ends up that he and Nams have a set of experiences as they used to battle in the boxing ring, and it was a direct result of him that Tiger's profession reached a conclusion. So after seeing him, Tiger quickly advises his cronies to kill him and commitments them many slaves in trade. Anyway, these men end up being no counterpart for Namsoon, who easily takes on everybody and at last assaults Tiger. In the interim, Suna and the gathering arrive at the loft, where Dr. Youthful gives them a welcome discourse. She gets some information about her grandmother and the educator guarantees her that she'll show up soon. All of a sudden, Dr. Youthful reports the scores of the children. What's more, it would seem on the off chance that they really improve grades they will have better offices. They're given a beverage and everybody is eager to at long last have clean water. After quite a while anyway, Suna feels odd and chooses not to drink the water. They are then taken inside and it's made sense of that the kids will be on the 8th floor where guardians are not permitted. Once the kids leave, the guardians are entrusted with cleansing all the water in the structure physically to make it okay for drinking. They're taught to run the filtration process consistently for their kids' purpose. Then again, Nam before long beats Tiger and his partners in crime and questions them about the spotless water. Tiger concedes that they got this water from the structure where he supplies quite a large number things and at times individuals also. Anyway, he guarantees that nowadays they request to break youngsters, which is the reason his men went to the town that day. Hearing this, Nam soon orders him to take him to that place first thing tomorrow. In the meantime, Suna is in a class with other children and tracks down everything unusual. She sees that the understudies have a particular cut on their necks and appear strangely accommodating and slow. When Dr. Youthful shows up, she chooses in all honesty and inquires about her grandma. He illuminates her that her grandma is debilitated and being treated. She demands visiting her, yet he rejects and claims it's not permitted. He illuminates her that she looks very malnourished and requests that she drink a jug of clean water. She lifts the jug to drink, however when he leaves she puts it down without taking a taste. That night, after everybody is snoozing, Suna leaves her bed and starts investigating the region. Ground floor. A parent is requesting to see their girl and Dr. Youthful attempts to persuade them that she is protected anyway. Ever when they keep on demanding, he becomes disturbed and carries them to his lab. In the meantime, Suna is in the lab and at the point when she hears them moving toward, she rapidly races to stow away. When they show up, the guardians find their girl lying oblivious on a careful table. With machines around her head, they start to go crazy. However, Dr. Youthful guarantees them that she's fine and he's simply doing an investigate her. He fills them in about his exploration and lets them know how he restored his dead girl. He opens a pantry to uncover his girl's upper middle encased in glass and with her hard siphoning. Anyway, the guardians right away hurry to save their little girl. They start to shout and mediate with the machine, making the young lady have a seizure. Also, bite the dust. Seeing this, Dr. Yang becomes infuriated and wounds the young lady's dad to demise. In the meantime, Suna conceals in a corner, watching everything when abruptly Dr. Youthful methodologies her with a vile grin. He then, at that point, gets her and spots her on the surgical table. He illuminates her that the water she was given has as of now finished portion of the undertaking and starts the most common way of gathering the recovered liquid. In the meantime, Namsoon and his group show up at the structure and Tiger illuminates the troopers that he's here to convey supplies anyway. Since it's not their conveyance day, the warriors become dubious and start examining the vehicle. So Namsoon quickly starts terminating at the fighters and winds up killing them. Generally following this, they advance into the structure and Dr. Youthful, who's going to start his probe Suna before long, hears the news. The gathering surges inside and strolls into a miserable cellar when the officers, out of nowhere, quit understanding them. The explanation for this turns out to be clear when a crowd of half-breed zombies goes after the triplet. They get into a serious battle and Deho becomes close to home when she finds that the colleagues she came for have transformed into zombies. In the end, the triplet routs these zombies and pushes ahead. Sun Yan Ho runs upon Sergeant Quan, who welcomes her to join their group anyway. She declines and goes after him, yet it doesn't influence him. After a strained battle, he, in the long run, cuts her and throws her out of the loft. Minutes after the fact, Guan catches the instructor and asks her to take him to Suna on the manner in which they come across Sergeant Guan. However, Namsun inclinations Jaiwan to leave, guaranteeing he will bargain with him. In the meantime, Dr. Youthful concentrates the liquids from Suna's body and infuses them into himself anyway, since she had not intoxicated a drop from the jug of water. The discharge from her pituitary organ had not been altered to be utilized. Because of this, Dr. Yang starts to change into a freak subsequent to infusing it into his body, and he begins shaking at that second. Guan shows up to save Suna. Be that as it may, an official kicks him from behind and beats him without kindness. In the meantime, Nam Child and Sergeant Quan take part in a dangerous battle, and Quan supports no physical harm. In the long run, Namsun figures out how to slash off his head and shut down his life. By this point, Dr. Youthful understands that fixing the harm he is past the point of no return, caused as opposed to contemplating the youngsters in the structure. He explodes a bomb and egotistically protects himself. He packs what little remaining parts of his little girl in a bag and steps outside. The Guardians understand that he's answerable for their missing kids. Furthermore, start savagely going after him. In the meantime, Yen Ho, who ends up stilling Be Alive, recaptures cognizance. She and Namsun head inside and Minig to help Suna and Jivan break from the fire. While the Guardians are going after Dr. Youthful, his serum is likewise obliterated. In a spasm of outrage, he snatches a firearm and starts firing at the people who were kicking him amusingly. He coincidentally takes shots at the bag. What's more, the fluid that was keeping his little girl alive channels out of the crate. This makes him exceptionally furious, and he explodes into tears. He then, at that point, attempts to legitimize his activities by calling every other person evil. Furthermore, taking steps to kill them all. Anyway, before he can do anything, Nam's son over and again shoots him and eventually blows his head off. At that point, it unexpectedly begins pouring following a half year of dry season, which invigorates everybody. Yen Ho stays behind in the condo to re-establish it, while Namsun's pack leaves and gets back to their settlement. On the way, Suna visits her grandma's grave and separates in tears. In the last scene, she's seen running the butcher shop with Namsun and Guan.